Now we'll briefly cover some aspects of kinetics. So these are the two important pillars on which will make the foundation of combustion science or combustion technology. Okay, so what is kinetics? Kinetics is basically coming from a Greek word which means to move or movement. So what do we study in this chapter? We look into how fast a chemical reaction proceeds or how fast it is moving, and what is the final state, final equilibrium state. What are the various chemical species present in that and at what proportion. Okay, and another interesting thing that we'll look into, what are the different mechanisms. So what are the different pathways in which a reaction takes place. So this is also something we'll explore. Okay, let us come to our familiar equation of oxidation of CO, carbon monoxide. Similarly, we also talk about oxidation of hydrogen. Or let us say I want to oxidize carbon to CO2. So all these are the general forms of fuel combustion reactions when you are burning a fuel in presence of oxygen or oxidizer. Can I represent them in a common template? I can write fuel plus A moles of oxygen gives rise to B moles of product. Now, when I want to talk about rate, how fast this is going, so I will talk about rate of appearance or disappearance of some species. I can say how fast, what does the d by dt of xf means. So this tells you the concentration of fuel. F is for fuel. So dxf by dt is what is the rate at which the fuel is being consumed. Okay. Now I can write it in terms of a rate constant kg. Why this is minus? Because fuel is getting disappeared. It is decreasing with time. And this will depend on fuel concentration to the power n and oxidizer concentration to the power m, where kg is the global coefficient, rate coefficient, m and r reaction order. So this is called law of mass action. Okay, so what is law of mass action? It says that the chemical reaction is directly proportional to product of the concentration and concentration of reactants. Okay, where each is raised to the power m by n, which is this order. So this is in words. This equation can be used to define law of mass action. Okay, this is how it is stated, and if you multiply k, it becomes an equation. Okay, now let us talk about oxidation of methane. So what happens basically? Okay, methane is a molecule with 5 atoms, 1C and 4H. Actually, it should be tetrahedral. Just to keep it simple, I have drawn in this way. So what happens at the physical or atomic level? We have a molecule here, and then two oxygen molecules attack this molecule, break some bonds, form new bonds, and finally we'll have 1 mole of CO2 and 2 moles of water. Fine. Now this is your global reaction. This is what we say overall, or what happens globally. That 1 mole of CH4 reacts with 2 moles of oxygen and forms CO2 and water. Now there is something called elementary reactions. Okay. So what happens is, can you imagine at atomic level, is this possible that at once two molecules attack one molecule and then break up, and this, can you imagine this can happen in one step, or there has to be some sequential operations? What is your thought on this?
Sequential operations, sir.
Correct. So for that, to model that sequential operation, we use elementary reaction mechanism. Okay. So these are the various steps involved which we call as elementary reactions. So when you write this in a very simple way, this is not so simple. All these steps are taking place. How do I know that this species is present or that species is present. So basically we carry out lot of experiments where we use laser diagnostics, shock tube measurements, and in those experiments we have found that these species are present, although in trace amount, very small amount for very small time, but these species are present. So based on that we form this elementary reaction models. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about this in subsequent slides. So let us define. So any state of, this is your global reaction and this is elementary reaction for combustion of hydrogen. So a set of elementary reactions, these are required to describe this global. So this is called reaction mechanism. Okay. So another interesting thing is that there could be different elementary reaction mechanism. Okay, when I say that water, hydrogen is burning, this is not the only, this is actually, hydrogen is much more simpler. Let us talk about methane. So this is not the only pathway. There could be different pathways. This is just a model. We've experimentally found that these species are present. So these are some of the logical steps that we could define. There could be other logical steps also. Okay. So basically we are trying to model the actual chemistry. How accurately and how much detail is the question. So for example, GRI 3.0. GRI stands for Gas Research Institute. They give standard reaction kinetics and reaction mechanisms, particularly for methane. So they have given 300 elementary reactions. Okay. Now imagine we are just talking about 8 to 10. There is also a mechanism which gives 300, and that may also not be the complete picture. There could be some more trace or small elementary reactions involved. Okay, but for our purpose, or let us say for industrial application or any, when you want to make any calculation using for a combustion device, one step, two step is also good enough. Okay, when you do CFD, one step will also give you reasonably good result, depending on what you are trying to find or what you are trying to extract from your given solution. Okay, for example, let us say that I am talking about a burner, or let us say gas turbine combustion. So in gas turbine, if you, let us say if you want to see how much heat is produced or what is the world temperature, something like that. So one step is even good enough for that. You will get approximately a reasonably good value. But for example, if I want to calculate how much pollution is, how much pollutants are being produced, I want to calculate how much NOx is there or CO is there, then one step is not good enough. Then I need a complete reaction mechanism that will help me to accurately predict how much pollution is being generated using that particular engine. Okay. Now various groups have proposed detailed or reduced mechanisms. Basically what they are doing to capture the actual chemistry. Okay, we don't know like how, what at molecular level, how it actually proceeds, what are the exact steps involved, but we are able to reasonably explain it using these mechanisms. Okay, but it is a ongoing research topic. There is still a lot of PhD work going on, research work going on, where people try to find out if there is any more elementary reaction or there could be any alternative pathway in which the reaction could proceed. So that is a very interesting ongoing field. Okay, so I briefly talked about this, why different mechanisms are there for the same global reaction. Okay, so this we know for sure that this is what is happening overall, but there are mechanisms which will have 2 steps, 11 steps, 300 steps. So these are basically models. Okay, where we're trying to capture the actual chemistry. The major challenge is that this intermediate species, for example, OH, CH2, These are present in very small traces, parts per million, and for a very short time. Let us say 10 to the power minus 8 second, 10 to the power minus 9 second, 10 to the power minus 6 second, like that. Okay, so experimentally it is really challenging. So we use different mechanisms, we do some computer simulations, and we try to compare with experimentally observed values. And if we're getting a good match, then we say that for this purpose, this particular mechanism is good enough. Okay, now let us look at what are the different types of elementary reactions. One is bimolecular. Bimolecular means two molecules are involved. A plus B gives rise to C plus D or C plus D plus E. Important here is that this LHS we have two. That is why it is called bimolecular. Now this is the rate equation for that. Okay, now the question is how do we determine the value of K? Okay, so to determine the value of K or to determine the rate of the reaction, there are different theoretical models. One of them we'll talk about is collision theory. Okay, so how do reaction takes place? We assume that two reactant molecules collide, they hit each other, and with sufficient energy they hit so hard that some original bonds break and new bonds form. That is what happened in reaction, right? Some old bonds are being broken and new bonds are being formed. So when I'm talking about collision, let us say that these two, to make this simple, we will assume that two molecules are in perfectly spherical shape. Okay, let us say this is methane, this is oxygen. So these are in perfectly spherical shape and they are approaching each other. This is coming to the left side, this is going to the right side. Or let us say this is stationary and this one is moving with some velocity. Is this clear? Yes, no, anything? Okay. So we are molecules, we are assuming that there are two spherical balls which are going to hit. Okay. Now we define this band as average of this diameter. Okay, it will have some diameter, it will have some diameter. But if it is in this, if the separation distance is such that this is basically this is touching here. Okay, if I bring this atom to at this location, this will be like touching this object, touching this. Let us say these are spherical balls. So this molecule is touching this, exactly touching when your separation distances or distance between the centers is this much. Okay. Now can anyone tell me when will reaction takes place? When the actual separation distance is larger than this is or smaller than this?
Molar.
Correct. So this is a limiting case. We define that these two are just touching each other and then based on this we'll make some calculations. So the rate of disappearance of A we define at, this will be proportional to number of collisions between A and B. Okay, number of collisions per unit volume per unit time. And another thing is that it is not necessary that if it collides, it will react. Okay, it is also possible that it hits or it grazes past each other and there's no reaction at all. So to account whether it will react or not, we'll take a probability factor. Probability that a collision leads to reaction. So then I can define dA by dt in such a way that ZAB is number of collisions per unit volume. Then probability will define as P and this is Avogadro number. Okay. Fine. This is what we are trying to figure out. If we find out this, I can get the rate of reaction, right? So Let us say that what we consider is this slide. This slide we say that this one molecule is sitting and other molecule is coming and hitting it or going past it. Now we assume that this one molecule is moving and there are several other molecules which are sitting on its path like this. Okay, so this green color molecules are sitting here and this blank or unfilled molecule, this is traveling with speed v. Okay, it is going here and basically, have you heard of Brownian motion? Can anyone explain?
Yes, sir.
So what is Brownian motion?
Sir, a particle suspended in the fluid performs a random motion. It's called Brownian motion.
Okay, so in gas also, gas molecules will have some kinetic energy. So it will be bouncing here and there. So in that random motion, it will encounter some molecule and it will either hit it, it will react or not. That we are trying to figure out here. Okay, and what is the radius? What is the separation distance? At what location it should be? So let us say that this diameter of this is sigma, diameter of this is sigma. Okay, so if this molecule will touch or react with molecules which are at a in this path, which path is 2 sigma thick, 2 sigma broad. Okay, if it is on this path, it could hit. If it is far away from this path, then it could not interact. So now we define number of collisions per unit time. So n is the number of molecules per unit volume. This is the specific volume into pi into sigma square. Okay. Or I can say, if we will not go into details of how this is coming from the kinetic theory of gases. So if we assume Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, we can say that Zc I can write in this form. Okay. Where this is the main speed which it depends on temperature. Okay. So this is the main speed of a molecule which depends on temperature. Now these are identical moving molecules colliding. This is what we got in the last slide. Now for different molecules, this is what we assume both have same diameter. If they are different, then one simple thing I can do is I can take average diameter of those two molecules. So then I define that as sigma AB. Okay, this is just the average of sigma A and sigma 2 divided by 2. But so this is the formula for a single A atom or a molecule colliding with B molecules. Okay. The number of collisions between all A and B per unit volume per unit time. This is what we require to find the rate of reaction, right? So this can be written as in this form. So this is the concentration of A, number of A molecules in per unit volume, number of B molecules per unit volume. Pi into sigma is the equivalent diameter, sigma MV square, and this is the square root of average velocity of A and B. Okay. This is what we have in the last slide. Now I can also from kinetic theory. Okay, what I need here is I need what is the speed of average velocity of A molecule or B molecule. Now this I can get from kinetic theory of gases. So I can write this as 8 kBT by pi mu. Okay, this kb is Boltzmann constant. Don't think it has to do anything with molecule B. This is Boltzmann constant. And I have also used mu here. So mu is the reduced mass for Ma and Mb, which can be expressed like this. So finally we have rate. We are able to calculate the rate constant for A. Okay. This can be written as Z AB by V, probability factor into Avogadro number. So this is how we defined initially Okay, this is what we found from kinetic theory. So we'll try to equate these two equations and we'll try to find what is P, what is the probability factor. Okay, now P is that probability that a collision leads to reaction. This could be of two parts. What is the time? Actually, I don't have my watch here. Okay, we have some time. Fine. So, you people are with me?
Yes, sir.
You are able to catch up, or should I repeat something?
Sir, till now it is fine.
It is fine? Okay.
Yes.
Basically, we are talking about how molecules collide, and we will try to find the probability that if two molecules hit, then what is the probability that it will lead to a reaction. Okay. So first is that it should have sufficient energy. If it hits that is only not sufficient, it should hit with minimum some energy that will make the reaction to happen. Okay, why energy is required? Any guess?
Sir, in the first stage, bonds have to be broken.
Correct, very good. So you want to break some bonds, so you need some energy to, when it collides, it hits, then it will break and then form new bonds. And any other thing other than energy? Anyone
Sir,
can?
orientation.
Very good. So orientation, from which direction it is approaching, it is it is called steric factor. Okay, so for example, if you take OH plus H gives rise to H2, if you take this reaction, so we have an OH radical, we have an H atom or H radical. Okay, H atom approaches from this side. Will it lead to reaction, or will this one lead to a reaction? First or second? Which one? It is quite obvious.
Second.
So second one will lead to reaction because H and H will not react. I want H to react with O. Okay. So this is the logic behind steric factor. Now for energy, minimum energy I can take from Arrhenius expression. So I will take exponential of minus EA, this is Arrhenius factor, and R is the universal gas constant and temperature. Steric factor I will account using P. So P is basically I can write the probability as I will take this P and I will combine this exponential term. Okay, this becomes the probability that collision leads to a reaction. Okay, this is what we got. Now initially we have derived from kinetic theory that ZABV is equal to this much. So based on this, now I know what is the probability of collision. I don't know if there is a collision, what is the probability that it will react. So I will multiply these two and I will get the rate of reaction. Okay. So this is how I define rate of reaction. This is the probability of collision, and this part tells you that if it collides, then what is the chances that it will also react. Okay, this is the final form. And then we write this. Generally when we talk about kinetics, we talk about this form. Okay, let us go back to this. So what you can say, if you look at these two reactions, you see that concentration of AB is here, concentration of AB is also here. So this whole thing, this whole term can be combined and we can call it K. And it will also depend on temperature. So it is more appropriate to write K as a function of T. So this, all of this is K. This is your reaction constant. Okay. Now this can be also written as A. This term can be combined and Using that, I can write an Arrhenius equation. Okay. So this is your free exponential factor. A is energy of activation. We'll see what exactly it means. And this is also dependent on temperature. A will be dependent on temperature. So finally, K will also be dependent on temperature, and that's why we write K as a function of temperature. If it's clear, what is the Arrhenius form and what are the different terms involved?
Sir, in actuality, there would be many reactions. So wouldn't there would be mixture of different
Yes,
components while burning. So wouldn't
yes,
the probability factor change due to that also? Here we are only considering A and B reacting.
yes. We are talking about in global terms. Okay. So if you look at, okay, that's can you repeat your question again?
Sir, here we are only considering A and B are reacting and nothing else is present.
Okay.
But in reality, when actual fuel is burning, certain other components will also be present in the reaction area. So
Yeah.
wouldn't the probability factor change? As sometimes the collision would be between the other molecules.
Okay. Good question. So see, if when we are talking about A and B, we are only concerned about these two atoms. If suppose A collides with C, okay, that will not contribute to this reaction. You understand? There are other atoms, other species that are there. That is true, but A colliding with C or D or any other atom will not lead to this reaction.
Yes, sir, that's what I'm saying, that shouldn't the probability of decrease as some collisions would take place between non-reacting material.
So see, that's what we are not like. See, this is a very first. Let me put a disclaimer that this is a very simplified analysis. Okay, actually, what is happening will be much more complicated. But in a simple analysis, you cannot consider everything there. So this is to begin with. Now, what we are doing here is that we express any reaction in this form. Okay. Now we can experimentally measure that. Okay, if this is my form, then what will be the factors? So I can experimentally calculate what is A, B, what is EA, like that. Anyway, let us discuss about this later. I will come back to you. Okay, but
Okay, sir.
I will just emphasize that this is a very simplified analysis. Anyway, in any combustion reaction, you will not have only two things, A and B, right? There will be like hundreds or thousands of species, but we are just keeping it very simple to be able to express in this form, so that I could have some numbers here. So Arrhenius equation is itself questionable. There are a lot of research which says that you cannot express in this form. There will be turbulence involved. So lot of things are there. This is a very basic model. Okay. So in this simplified assumption, we assume that we are expressing in terms of this. This is Arrhenius equation, and then for this equation, we are able to get these numbers. We are able to get this. We are able to get A. We are able to get B. Experimentally, I can measure. If I assume this is the form, experimentally I can measure the rate of the reaction. I can measure what are the species concentration. Then by using some curve fitting, I can find all these numbers, which can be used for later computation. Okay, you actually asked a very interesting question, but we'll try to come back to your question after the end of the chapter. First, I want you to cover all the basics, then you will be able to appreciate. Okay, but again, I will tell that this is a very simplified analysis. We have like taken a lot of big assumptions. So what you are asking is a real scenario then those assumptions will not be valid, what we are talking about here. Okay?
Yes, sir.
To have partly answered your questions, once we finish this chapter, I will again come back to that. Okay, we'll have a discussion what goes on, what are the different species involved, and how do we account for the different collisions that will take place. Okay, good. So, okay, coming back to this Arrhenius form. So once we are able to express in Arrhenius form, we get this table, okay, from some experiment that we can use for, if suppose I want to consider this reaction, I can take this A, B factors and I can calculate that for this temperature range, this is the rate of reaction. Okay, so that is the advantage of talking in terms of Arrhenius equation. Okay, another interesting thing that will be very easy to explain using the Arrhenius form will be activation energy. Okay, so basically what happens is, physically if you look at reaction, what is going on. So first you have reactants, then these reactants do not directly get converted to products. Okay, there are some intermediate species which we call as activated complex. Has anyone heard this term before? Okay, so what happens is, basically you start with the reactants. So this plot shows you reaction coordinate. So here your reaction is starting, here your reaction is ending, and this shows you energy. It could be enthalpy, let us say potential energy of, or to keep it simple, I'll say energy in the atoms or molecules. Okay, so reactant have lower energy or lower enthalpy, but product enthalpy is still lower than that. Okay, because if, okay, let me ask you a question. If product enthalpy is, let us say like this, then what difference will it happen? What is
It
this?
will form reactants again.
Not necessarily, but let us talk.
No energy would be released in the reaction.
Correct. So it will be endothermic or exothermic.
Endothermic.
Endothermic.
Correct. So because this is a exothermic reaction, as we have seen in the last chapter, what we talked about is just now what numerical what we have covered. Numerical, we see that the H of product is higher, H of reactant is lower. That's why we are getting positive heat of combustion or negative enthalpy change. Okay, so what happens is, this collision gives some energy, right? That's what we're talking about. EA, energy of activation. So two molecules collide, they go to a higher state, and from there it comes down finally to a more stable state, which is your products. Is this clear? So it could also go like this. It will be a possible reaction, but it will be endothermic. Again, if someone told that product will be formed, that will be the backward reaction. But again, for any forward or backward, you need to have this energy of activation. Okay, let us say even if it goes like this, still if I want to go from here to here, I cannot directly come. It will go to this stage. For that, this will be the EA. That energy, minimum energy is required. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. So just now what we discussed. So unstable species will be present in this activated complex. Radicals OH, H, CO. Those type of radicals will be present here. Okay. Maybe I will show you some experimental images that will make it a little bit more clear. Anyway, so for that we need to ignite. So you could have oxygen plus fuel mixed, but it will not. For example, when you say talk LPG or gas leakage is there, it will not explode on its own. you might have heard news that there was some short circuit and because of that explosion happened. So ignition is required. You put a matchstick or lighter or something which will ignite. So this is what is providing your activation energy. See, once you have ignited, then it becomes self-sufficient. Then it will sustain the flame. Okay, if you try to recall LPG stove in your house. Okay, so when you cook food, what you do? First you turn on the gas, then you ignite. Once you ignite, then you remove the lighter. Okay, you do not hold the lighter always there, right? The flame becomes self-sustaining. Okay, so only at the initial we need just to start the reaction, kick start the reaction, then it will take care of itself. Okay, so don't think that at later times this is not required. This is always required, but at later times this is provided by the heat of the reaction. So much heat is generated, it will provide heat to the reactant also. It will, so because the gas is at such high temperature, some heat will be supplied back to reactant that will continue the reaction. Anyway, this we will talk more about these things in premixed flames next chapter. Anyway, so as I said, this reaction, this radicals are short-lived. Okay, this will not be stable. It will within a like fraction of second they will be formed, and this will be coming down. We'll have stable products. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Let us just define this and then we'll stop. Okay. So let us talk about order of reaction. So this is the general form in which we express what is the rate of appearance or disappearance, kg, x to the power n and m. So overall order is m plus n. Order with respect to fuel is n. Order with respect to oxygen is oxidizer is m. This is simply how we define order. Nothing complicated here. So this is basically an empirical quantity. Okay, determined by the experiment, and you use the law of mass action. So you measure what is the concentration of this, and by measuring the rate, you can do some curve fitting and find NNM. That's all. And because you're doing curve fitting, okay, it is not necessary it will be integer. It could be 1.2, 1.5, anything could be there. And again, very important point here, it will not depend on stoichiometric coefficient. Okay, because these are we got it from curve fitting, not from the actual chemistry or reaction mechanism. Now let us talk about molecularity. Okay, this is the number of molecules that come together to react in an elementary reaction. So in an elementary, how many molecules are colliding at once? And this is also sum of stoichiometric coefficient. Okay. So depending on how many molecules we are talking about, if there are only one molecule, it will be unimolecular. Two molecules, bimolecular. Termolecular, if it is three. More than that, generally is not possible. So any example, if you can tell unimolecular, only one molecule is taking place.
Decomposition reactions.
Very good. So decomposition, I need only one molecule. Bimolecular is what we have discussed, OH plus H. Okay. So, okay. Now tell me, this is what we have discussed, right? One molecule is hitting. So this is what is the molecularity? 2, 3, 10, what?
2.
Correct. 2 at any given instance, we are talking about 2. One molecule is, let us say, hitting 10, but at any instance, I'm talking about 2, whether any reaction takes place here or not. Okay. With that, I think we'll stop for today, and next class we'll have at Monday, right? Monday 11.